Everyone, and welcome to our today's session where we will be discussing how to do self-study for ACCA exams. As you will or you may already know, my name is Zaid Sayed. I'm an ACCA member, and I've only recently started to make some content for the YouTube channel. In my recent post on LinkedIn, since I connect with lots of students on my LinkedIn page, I did ask suggestions as to what kind of content you would like me to develop. And one very common and in fact intriguing for me as well was a lot of them wanted to know how we can do self-study. So here I am preparing or trying to help you prepare for the ACCA exams through self-study, because I appreciate that not everyone has maybe the time to go for a full-fledged classrooms type lectures available. Sometimes it's the classes could be expensive. Therefore, you would want to go for self-study. And uh, let me assure you that it is not going to be the case that just because you've done self-study, you will not be able to pass the ACCA exams. Or at least I interact with enough students who have cleared the exams on their own as well. Of course, there is a lot of effort required. There is a lot of maybe not exactly content, because the content should be available on the various websites. I will mention a couple of them in a bit, but I think it's more to do with the discipline, right? If you can bring in that discipline of studying regularly, I don't see why, even if you've done self-study and you've done all the prep work that we are discussing today, should not help you clear the exams, right? So let's go ahead with the things that you need to do if you are going to do self-study. Now, one of the most important things that you have to really ensure you do is you cover 100% textbook, right? Now, the textbook could be from Kaplan, could be from BPP, could be other approved content providers that you wish to go with. As I mentioned, I will talk about the websites. So there are certain websites like ACCA Global itself has a lot of content on their website which you can refer to. Then you can always go to Open Tuition. They have a lot of free content available. I would not obviously suggest that you go and try to take a illegal copies, etc., because at the end of the day, look, we are ACCAs, we are supposed to abide by the ethical guidelines, because that is one of the key things that ACCA looks upon, and ensures that we as students, members, affiliates, have that value well embedded. So therefore, I would not suggest you do that. But yeah, there are definitely free content available on the internet. You just need to do a search and you should find some. Or you can always ask in your friends and family if they have textbooks that they can lend you. That is not a problem at all. You can always ask your friends and family who've already done ACCA to lend you the books. That shouldn't be a challenge. The point being here is that textbook is extremely important for your conceptual clarity. Students who sit in my class, they know how much of a big fan I am of conceptual clarity. In the absence of not understanding the whys behind the concepts, it becomes extremely difficult for you to answer the scenario based questions. So for example, if you have something around say IFRS, and there is a standard say IFRS 9, unless and until you understand what the standard really is all about, you can't really just do a rote learning and say that, look, I understand what are the key things about the standard and that's it. You need to really understand why IFRS 9 says that you need to measure something in a certain manner. You can only recognize an asset or a liability when it meets these guidelines. When do you de-recognize? So the idea is that whenever you are preparing for an exam, don't jump to the exam kit or past papers. A lot of students do this mistake, and then they find that in the exam they are looking at questions which are completely out of syllabus. Now when I say out of syllabus, you will think it is out of syllabus because you did not understand the real concepts behind why certain standards are treated in a certain manner, right? And you will think, oh, this was never there in the syllabus. So make sure that you do the textbooks completely. Like in our class itself, and people would know this, that I teach at Financial Planning Academy. We make sure that each and every single concept is covered in the class, even if it means that we put 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours sometimes in subjects where people might say, oh, this could be done in 40 odd hours. But we make sure that everything is covered in the class, is because when the exam comes, you should know the whys, right? The hows, the mechanics, the formulas, etc. are something that you can practice twice, thrice, four times, and you'll be fine. Look at the world today. Most of the things which we know that there is no change in how it needs to be done. For example, you have to move a file from, say, folder A to folder B. You can train a bot or develop a macro to actually move the files, as long as it is only from moving from folder A to B, right? And this is what hows are all about. Yeah, you understand the mechanics, you do it twice, thrice, and you will be fine. But unless and until why are you moving it from folder A to B, you probably will never be able to develop any kind of improvised automation. What happens if there are files which are there in A but do not need to be moved to B? What do you do then, right? So for things like these, you need the conceptual clarity. So I cannot put enough pressure on why you should be doing the textbook full-fledgedly before you move to the next thing, which is of course then the exam kit. Yes, exam kit is equally important, but only once you've understood the concepts. Because, as I said, the ACC exams are always going to throw up something which is very different. The scenarios are going to be different. The numbers are going to look different. So it is not going to be a copy paste of a past question. But yeah, you can look at the structure. What is the key requirement? If there is a verb which says discuss, evaluate, if those things are there, how do you answer them? If there is, for example, again, I'll talk about if there is, a consolidation question, or there is a final account question, right? In the exam type scenarios, you will be able to look at, what are the most common scenarios that are being asked, right? Of course, let's not forget that ACCA is not a field, or sorry, not ACCA, but accounting as a field is not something that has been revolutionized over the last few years. And, if you are studying debit credit today, people 10 years ago studied something different. Accounting basically has not changed humongously. Of course, there is now a lot of tech being incorporated, and that's something else for another day. I can discuss on how those are impacting finance and accounts. But for now, you need to understand that there are only so many things that the examiner will be able to ask you, right? So as far as the consolidation question is concerned, for an example, make sure that you are able to see a common trend in these questions. Like a common consolidation question could be around, there will be a subsidiary, there will be an associate, there will be an intercompany transaction, there could be intercompany balances, there could be unrealized profits, there could be goodwill impairment. Now, these are all common adjustments that you would see year after year. And of course, there will be something new that will be incorporated every now and then. So the point being, when you are doing exam kit and exam type questions, please make sure that you identify what are those common areas that are being regularly asked, so that at least even if something completely new comes in the exam, like usually would be the case, you would still have these areas which you can cover and get your easy marks, right? So exam kit, do the whole thing. Again, you decide whether you want to go with BPP, Kaplan, but make sure that you do the exam kit, because not only there are past papers in there, there are also a lot of exam type questions which are developed by the publishers. And again, the reason why I just say BPP and Kaplan is because they are both approved content providers for ACCA, and so I would not want you to look anywhere else for these type of contents, right? So make sure that you do 100% exam kit before you move to the next requirement, which is completing the past papers. Now, completing the past papers, a lot of them are already put on the ACCA Global website. Anyone who's wondering where it is, you go to student resources section on ACCA Global website. You click on ACCA qualification. You click on, say, financial reporting. There is a plethora of resources available, right from past papers, examining team guidance, CBE platform link. There are some extra questions that you can do. So there is lots and lots of stuff that you can look over there. So make sure that whatever past papers are given to you over there, right, you do them, even if it is 5, 6, 8, depending upon if there has been any significant change and if they've been able to incorporate those changes in the past papers. But yeah, do all of them and try and do this extremely important thing, which is link it to the examiner's report. Now, I'm sure over a period of time, people have started to realize that examiner's reports are not something that can be ignored while preparing. And trust me, when I was giving my exams in my last final 3 papers, which I sat together, and I cleared, touch wood, I cleared all of them at the first go and in first attempt. I can assure you this, that it wouldn't have been possible had I not looked at the examiner's reports, because it gives you exactly what the examiner wants. Therefore, when you are doing the past papers, do the past papers first. Look at how you've done your answers. Look at the ideal answers. So this is another very important trick, that when you are looking at your answers, try and compare it with the ideal answers. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm not ever saying that it needs to be an absolute carbon copy of what you have in front of you, right? Because don't forget that these answers that have been written, they have been not written in a proper exam environment. People have had time to think about the best possible points, elaborated in the fullest way possible, so that students, if they don't cover the first 2 points, if they cover the next 2 points, you still get your marks, right? So don't even try to replicate each and everything that is there in the ideal answer. My point is that try and cover only and only the key points that are there, which you can elaborate, you can talk about, because you will see there are bits that you have a complete bouncer of, right? You will not understand where was this point. I have never seen this in textbook, right? But at least there will be some points in these ideal answers that that it is there in your answer as well, and it may be the language is slightly different. Absolutely fine, right? The examiners are already given instructions that it does not have to be a carbon copy. It can be in your own language completely, as long as you're covering the key areas, which I in my class constantly call as buzzwords, right? If you have your buzzwords that, for example, again, coming to the reporting, and for example, there is, say an IS 38, okay? Under IS 38, there is intangibles, and, the situation says that, will you recognize it or not? When you are going to recognize, there are these, 5, 6 conditions that the expense needs to meet, unless or it will not be capitalized and it will need to be expense. So you will make sure that whatever those conditions are, whether there is a probability of, making profits from it, or whether there's an intention to complete the project, or whether you can value the resources, etc., etc. So there are multiple things, that are there to be checked before an expense can be capitalized. So you need to put those buzzwords in. You need to write a few points about it, and make sure, because this is again a very common question, and this is not just people who are doing self-study. Even my students will always have that, how much to write. Trust me, it is difficult to say how much to write, because I know we come from a background where a lot of time people says if it's 5 marks, write a page, 10 marks, write a 2 page. Unfortunately, ACCA doesn't work like that. You need to make sure that if you are going to write 1 page also, it has got all the requirements that were given by the examiner, right? So let's take a small example. If the question is around that, when do you discuss the recognition criteria, say for IS 38, right? And the exam and the marks given is say 8 marks, right? Make sure that you've got, good 4 conditions that are required for an expense to be capitalized. Yeah, as I said, it could be, whether it will be completed, whether there is an intention to complete, whether you have the resources, whether you can value it completely, where there is an expectation of making profits and all that, right? Make sure from those you at least cover key 4 conditions, right? Elaborate a little bit, because there are 8 marks associated with it. Along with that, make sure there is some introduction and then there is a conclusion. This gives you a very, 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 very good chance of getting your full 8 marks. Yeah, I'm not gonna say put 10 conditions. I'm not gonna say put 2 conditions and write 2 pages, because if it is 8 marks, the examiner is definitely looking for a good 4 or 5 individual conditions in the answers, right? And again, don't bullet it. Yeah, these are discursive. It's not a list. When examiner tells you to list an answer, that's when you just maybe bullet it and put a 1 line. But if there is a discussion type, always put a heading and then explain what you mean by say a certain condition, right? Again, these are things where students often miss out, and I hope that through this video you will be able to incorporate these very important things in your answers, right? So make sure that you do your structuring of your answers, and this will come from the examiner's reports, where examiner is clearly telling you that I had asked this but the students actually did this. So the examiner is telling you, don't do these mistakes, do what I'm asking you to do, right? So for any paper that you do, compare your answers with the ideal answers. Ideal answers will be everything. You make sure you've covered your 4 5 key crux, or whatever the main buzzwords that are there, and elaborated, and it is there in your ideal answers. And then lastly, once you're done with this, go for the examiner's report and see if your answer is also in line with the examiner's answer. Yeah, because what you need to do is eventually try and bring your answers in line with the examiners are asking for, right? Then another very important thing which people often miss out is reading of technical articles. I mentioned that there is a lot of content on the ACCA site as well. These technical articles are nothing but notes. These are notes given by the examining team themselves. So if there is a standard, say IS 38, you will see there is definitely a technical article detailing about what are the bits that you need to look out for in the IS 38, be it recognition, be it measurement, subsequent measurement, be it derecognition, be it disclosures. All of those things are there, given in these technical articles. Make sure that you go through them, because again, the point being that this is by the examining team typically. So you will find the kind of language the examiner is hoping for, the buzzwords the examiner is looking for, the examples and the illustrations that the examiner quite easily can relate to, because they've themselves written it, right? So technical articles is a good source of your notes, content which you can pick up and you can use, and again it's free, right? Then this is slightly difficult, but see if you can try and get your assessments from your friends and family. I'm sure you will have, maybe if you've got someone in your family who's already done ACCA, or who's a qualified accountant, or someone who can look at an ideal answer and can look at your answer and say, look, you've not put this in, you've not put in that. I understand. Again, I said at the start that this may not be very easy, and that's why students usually come to classes, say like ours, where we are able to tell the students if they have. So for example, in our class, right, when you are doing say a TYU, and you send that answer to me, for example, while the class is on, we will be able to say that, don't put this in, put this in, don't put that, or this looks right, this looks wrong, how we can tweak it. So at the end of the day, this is one area where you might have trouble in. However, I hope that you are able to find someone in your friend and family circle who can help you assess these answers. Why it is important is because the world has realized that a 4-eye review is important, right? You may think that you've done the best of the answers because you may not be able to see the mistakes that you've committed, and that's why it is always better that someone else also reviews your answers and says that, look, this is wrong and this is right, this is good, this is bad. Yeah, objectively checking these answers are extremely important. I feel that if you do uh, try to play around yourself, for example, you are putting in a wrong answer, but when you are checking, you're like, oh, this is fine, that is fine, even though it's not there in the ideal answer, and you do now think that this is wrong, but just to keep yourself satisfied, you're just anyways marking it right and you're giving yourself full marks. You're just cheating yourself, and on the exam day, God forbid if a similar question comes in, if you're not able to write it. Yeah, so therefore, get someone to objectively assess your papers to make sure that you are incorporating what is supposed to be put in, right? Then last and the most, and that's why you see, I've put it in bold, that you need to make sure you are timing the papers, right? And these are done on the CBE platform. Now, of course, people who are at knowledge level, it may not be, well, of course, it is not applicable to you because you do not have a proper access to a CBE platform yet. It may be something that's eventually developed, but for skill level and professional level, you have a CBE platform which is available, where you've got all sorts of questions given, all sorts of and there is a proper practice area which is given to you. So what I would request is, especially because you are doing a self study, is that whenever you do a mock, do a full mock, please do not look at the answers beforehand, otherwise it does not serve the purpose of doing the mock, because there are enough papers there, specimen papers, past papers, all of that is there on the CBE platform. So do it on the Word spreadsheet areas that are given on this platform. No matter how good you are in Excel, Word in your work, ACCA platform is going to be slightly different, so you don't want to take any chances, right? Because a lot of things that you are able to use in the real world in Excel and Word, you can't use it on the ACCA platform. Therefore, make sure that at least a good 4-5 full mocks are done on the ACCA portal itself, and there is enough content available. Yeah, so when you do that, make sure you're timing the papers. Even when you're not doing it on the platform, you're doing it generally on a Word or an Excel. Make sure that you're timing. Probably everyone watching this will know that 100 marks paper has 3-hour timeline, which is 180 minutes. So typically 1.8 minutes is what you get, for every marks, or 10 marks will be 18 minutes. Make sure that you put it on your watch when you are going to do a 10-mark question, so that by the time you hit the exam, you have been able to full-fledgedly prepare yourself in what an exam environment will look like, right? So timing the papers, super important. Of course, now I'm sure there are people who are thinking, oh, sir did not talk about this, sir, maybe if we can do more bits, etc. Look, if I have to mention them, the list will be endless. You can do this, you can do that, but I feel that even if you've done these many things, get your concepts right, do a full-fledged exam kit, do all the past papers that are available, look at the examiner's report, look at the technical articles, do get some assessments done from friends and family, and make sure that you are timing the papers and using the CBE platform. As long as you are doing all of these things, you will be absolutely fine. Why I can say this is because we ourselves do only this much. Of course, there are other things which we do in the class, right? But this is where our focus is, right? This is where our focus is. If there are other bits, of course, it's a business trick. I don't want to put it on a YouTube, but I assure you, even if you do so many things, you will be absolutely fine, and you will be able to clear the exams with flying colors, right? So that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. I hope, especially the people who had, requested me to do this, you find this helpful. If you do have any suggestions, please put it in the comment box. I am checking the comments on a regular basis. I want to become more regular on YouTube so that I can prepare these contents more regularly. So please, if you've got any other suggestions that you want me to cover, even if it is about subjects, because just so you know, I do teach almost all the papers, God willing, and thank God, I have had an opportunity teaching most of the papers. So do get in touch. I've also got my mobile number in there if anyone wants to get in touch with me. My email ID is there. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, please do put in the comment box. And one last and a request is that do subscribe to the channel. As I said, it's a new channel. I've not been very active on it, but if I do see people subscribing more, I would obviously get a gauge that people do want me to do these videos. So please do subscribe the video if you like it, share it with your friends and family, so that more and more people get benefited from this session. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. You do take care, and all the very best for your exams. Thank you so much. Bye bye.